Alright, so I'm going to talk about comparing the major aspects of juvenile delinquency. I'm going to go over a couple of things that I thought was pretty interesting. I'm going to talk about what juvenile delinquency is, what some of the main causes are, detection of it really, and some things that we could do to potentially prevent it. I'm also going to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of treatments and things along those lines. What is juvenile delinquency? Juvenile delinquency is the habitual over and over again committing criminal acts and offenses by young individuals. Basically, more or less, it's an individual who constantly commits crimes or may commit one crime like stealing or stealing a car or doing drugs or drinking and driving. I feel like over time this has become something that's become a big problem. There's a lot of people that are young and they fall into these holes and they start committing crimes, and I feel like this is something that's just become a huge problem over time. Alright, so as you can see here, we have a couple causes of juvenile delinquency, which I think are a couple causes. I think that coming from a broken family obviously relates to a lot of reasons why children act the way that they do when they don't have the support that they need at home that causes them to act in a certain way. Sometimes I think even peer pressure has something to do with it along the lines, if they're at school and they see somebody, smoke a pot or somebody, stealing money from their parents, they think that it's cool to do, so maybe they're going to do it too because they want to fit in. I think that falls along with the confidence too. When you have low self-esteem because you're lacking it because of your family, they're not giving you the attention that you need, and they're not, picking you up when they should be, that's going to, ruin your confidence. And I think that also goes along with discipline. So when you come from a broken family, obviously you're not going to have curfews, you're not going to be told what you can and can't do, where you can and can't go, who you can and can't hang out with, because they don't care. They don't care what you're doing, who you're hanging out with, because, that's not there. So the discipline is, I think, another reason. If they had the discipline that they really needed, they wouldn't be causing the juvenile delinquency acts that they actually are, because they're looking for, some kind of confidence or attention or some kind of acceptance. And I think one of the main reasons is gangs. People get involved with gangs because of the main reason. They're looking for all of these. They're looking for a family. They're looking for confidence in themselves. They're looking for some kind of relationships that they're lacking. When you don't have something, you go looking for it. And I think that is one of the main reasons why we have the problems that we have. Detection and prevention, I think this is something that we're dealing with right now in this day and age. I feel like there's a lot of things that people do see and they don't speak up and say something when they see something strange, a kid acting out, or they see somebody skipping school all the time, or somebody getting picked on and bullied. They see all these red flags and X's, and and they're over here just minding their own P's and Q's, just not saying anything. Because we live in a world where people just, do their own thing even though they shouldn't. That makes me think about the school shootings that have been happening, these kids that have mental health issues, and, they've reached out, or they've, just stressed that they've had problems, and the people don't take initiative to make sure that, nothing comes more out of the problems, or the child gets help. That's one of the main things I think is another large issue with juvenile delinquency. A lot of the kids do show detection, and they show that there's issues, and they show that, maybe they're getting bad grades, or, maybe their family life at home isn't good, and they, show signs of that, but the people are not paying attention to prevent the issues that happen. There are a lot of programs out there for these kids that a lot of people don't know about, and there's a lot of websites that people can go to, and the schools need to be more proactive and show these kids, I think that they should be a little bit more proactive and show them that there's another way to do things, and this isn't how your life has to be, and we can get you help, or we can show you, a better way to do things rather than hurt yourself, or, hurt somebody else, or, join that gang because you feel like you're not a part of anything or anyone, or you can do better than this. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why, our prevention has been failing a lot lately in this world that we live in, because they're not taking that they're not being proactive and they're not taking the steps that they need to do to make sure that they can prevent, because they're not looking for the signs and maybe they just don't know what to look for. But I think that's something that this opened my eyes a lot, basically, especially with the world and what was going on when I was taking this class and all the school shootings and all the things that had happened. It really opened my eyes a lot. I also thought this was really interesting too, the advantages and disadvantages of juvenile incarceration. I can't talk today. Um, I feel like there are a lot of advantages and a lot of disadvantages. I feel like sometimes kids do what they do just because they're looking for maybe um, a home, not necessarily a home, but maybe somewhere warm to stay for the night because they're being abused at home, or maybe they're looking for a warm meal, and they know that they're going to be able to get it wherever they're going. Sometimes I think that these kids also get off the hook sometimes a little bit too easy. Therefore, that causes them to think, okay, well, you know, I just got slapped on the wrist last time, therefore I'm going to do it again. So constantly over and over again doing the same things, because it's not as bad as they think it's going to be. Um, they get incarcerated and they think it's, you know, all fun and games because they're not, you know, they're getting a slap on the wrist like, oh, you know, you stole the car. Oh, well, you know, we're going to have you here for 90 days and then we're going to send you back on the street. I think an advantage for some is that they do learn different things, different things that they can do to potentially help change their demeanor upon life. They learn that there's different groups that they can get involved in, and they learn that, you know, this necessarily isn't the way in that they have to live. Sometimes the disadvantage is, you know, they put the child back into the same situation because the parent is there and the parent says that, oh yeah, well, we want them back and we're going to help them, and, you know, but in reality the parent doesn't help them. It just constantly makes it worse. So I think that it really just depends on the situation. I think there are a lot of advantages and a lot of disadvantages, unfortunately. It just depends on the situation. If the person is getting help that they need and they're actually getting help and they're actually wanting help, I think it could benefit them. But if they're, you know, involved in a gang and, you know, that's their family and they're in jail and then they get out of jail and they're going to go right back to the things that they were doing before because they weren't taken away from the situation or put into different housing or, you know, taken to a different town or even a state. This is something that's really interesting to me because I feel like the recidivism is very high for juveniles because of the fact that they always get off with a slap on the wrist. Not always, I shouldn't say always, but for the most part, they usually get off with a slap on the wrist, and I think that's one of the big problems. But I have seen some positive and some negative, so this was really interesting for me to actually dig a little bit deeper into it and watch all the videos and learn a little bit more about it.